Happy Friday. I am your host, Eric Mitchell. Welcome to The Point. It is May 15th. It's a huge day for us. We've officially been doing this for 30 days. So we're celebrating. It's Friday. We have a heck of a guest list for you. And as always, I have my trusty sidekick and great co-host, Pavlina Osta, joining us today. She'll be on shortly. But let's get to the point with the news real quick. I promise you it's fast, and it's actually not. Okay, I'm not going to say it's not depressing because the second one is really depressing. But the first topic is we have sports again this weekend. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, sports, NASCAR, Bristol, Sunday. Watch it. Even if you don't watch NASCAR, tune in and watch it because it's sports. Seriously, it's a beautiful thing. NASCAR is on. They are running. It's not a video game this week. It's real drivers in real cars doing real laps, I guess, on a short track. I know about that much about NASCAR, so I know they turn left, they have stickers for headlights, and they don't have windshield wipers. That's what I know about NASCAR. And they go really, really, really ridiculously fast. There, that's Eric's NASCAR report. Cars go fast, they turn left in a circle, and they have a hell of a fan base. But just like all the sports, they will be adjusting to zero fans in the bleachers, which that brings me to an interesting point when we talk about sports. From everything that we're hearing, we will not have fans in the stadium for college football, for NFL football. If basketball comes back, if NBA basketball comes back, and I'm hearing reports on both sides, we may or may not. Same goes with baseball, no fans. So what I have heard from my good sources is the NFL has been testing stadiums to pump in crowd noise. A lot of teams that go to the playoffs, so sorry, Jets, Browns, and Raider fans, you're not familiar with this thing called the playoffs, but most good teams go to the football playoffs. The fans are really loud, so teams get used to it. As a 49er fan, I'm used to our team getting used to the fan base up with these wacky guys who won one Super Bowl up in Seattle. They're really, really loud for one title. Yeah, they're kind of like Astro fans, minus cheating. They don't cheat. Their coach cheats, but they don't cheat as a whole. But they've been pumping in sound for these folks, so they get used to it. Players do feast off of it. And from what I'm hearing from my NBA guys, they're sharing that they'd like to hear the same thing. Ultimately, LeBron James has said that he does not want to play basketball if fans aren't there. That's what these guys live for. They feed off the fans. They don't feed off of each other. They see each other every day. They feed off the noise. As a Portland Trailblazer fan, you can ask any player who's come to play in our arena. It's the fan base that gets you going. Either if you're, Russell Westbrook, who came here and rocked the baby, he paid for it by the booze, but these guys feast off booze and cheers. So it's going to be interesting starting sports this weekend, especially with NASCAR, without it. We did see last week at, UFC 249, I think it was UFC 249, that we saw they did really well. Ratings were record high, and it was fun to watch it. You could hear more of the sound in the ring than having all the fans. I personally love the roar of a crowd. I like that gladiator side of the sports. So I prefer an audience. It depends on what you like, but it will be interesting to see that moving forward. Now, so I led with happy news. So that means I have bad news. So, oh my goodness. We talked about this a few weeks ago, and we've been talking about when we would open back up. Well, today, around America, most of America is open in general, except for really big cities and some states. I happen to live in a county, in a state that my county is not open, but the rest of everywhere is, and they want us not to go other places. But so we can't get haircuts in our county, but I can go one county over and get a haircut and eat in a restaurant. Don't ask me. I don't make these rules up. But the report came out today that U.S. retail sales plunged a record 16% in April. So a record 16.4% from April to March as businesses shut down caused by the coronavirus. The Commerce Report Friday on retail purchases showed a sector that collapsed so fast over sales from 12 months are down a crippling 21.6%. The severity of the decline is unrivaled for many retail figures going back past 1992. The monthly decline in April nearly doubled from the previous record drop of 8.3, which was set just in March. Now, I love this quote that did come out today from the U.S. Chief Economic of the consultancy, Maria Florini Ramirez, said, "It's like a hurricane came and leveled the entire economy, and now we're trying to gear it up and get it running. Now, it's a perfect segue to bring on our co-host, Miss Pavlina Osta, who we've talked about this before. So let's bring Pavlina in, and we're going to have a little chit-chat about retail. And it's not just because you're a millennial, Pavlina, that we want to talk about retail. It's huge, right? We talked about this a couple weeks ago when you were a guest. Retail down. I mean, I shop online, so to me, it's no biggie. I'm going to continue shopping online, but I know big box stores, Nordstrom's, I keep calling Neiman Marcus needless markup. It's a bad habit, but don't know why. It just comes out that way. But I mean, what's your thoughts on this? I mean, with retail crashing down, do brick and mortars even survive?
I know. So this has been a problem for a while now. A lot of, brick and mortar stores, people just weren't going in before coronavirus. That was a big issue. But now with coronavirus, obviously people can't go into stores. Online shopping has obviously increased. I think we're not going to be seeing a lot of these places coming back. Places like JCPenney, places like Macy's, Rite Aid, like they have been struggling for a hot minute. Okay, so when they were already struggling before Corona, after Corona, they're not looking too hot. So it's definitely looking hard for them. Some of them are doing okay with like online sales. And I know a lot of millennials and Gen Zs, huge online, shoppers. Like I know I'm a big online shopper. I only buy online. When Amazon became the big thing, I was all over that. I order all of my athleisure, all of my clothes online. I've just never been a big shopper, to go into stores and everything unless I want to like try something on, but it's not looking too great. And, like the stats that you said, they were down 16.4%. That was worse than they kind of anticipated. So it's kind of daunting to see the future of where we're going to go. But, places are also starting to open up. So that's looking hopeful. As you guys know, I'm in New York City. They just extended our shelter in place until June 13th. So not looking too great here, but yeah, I think it's a little bleak. But I'm also extremely hopeful that when we are coming out of this and when, things do start to open up, we're going to really bounce back and the economy is going to come back strong. I just feel like that in my gut. And a lot of places are doing well, but a lot of other places aren't doing well. Like we were talking a little bit earlier, Amazon and, Lululemon are doing awesome. Why are those companies doing well? There's a lot behind it by why, certain companies are doing well. People are still spending money. So it's just kind of where they want to put their money.
That is funny that you say that people are spending money. You're right. They are. I mean, these network marketing, direct marketing sales companies, they're killing it right now. Absolutely. Right. I've never seen companies just absolutely crush it. It's amazing to see. And it's funny, you talk about the extensions of these lockdowns. New York City and California are both in the news right now. Joe Rogan just came out in a Barstool. I know I'm getting my media sources from Barstool, but Barstool Sports just reported, and Joe did say this, that he is seriously considering moving from California to Texas because he wants to be able to do his show instead of being, constantly criticized for the guests that he's having on, having to go through all these tests and having to be dependent on these things. So it's very interesting to see how these retail stores, will adapt to these new rules and regulations. And it's got to be hard for some of these states that haven't opened up. I know New York, you guys are just itching to get back. And I know that you've seen a steady flow of traffic in the city. But shopping and retail as we know it, I think is going to be really different. I mean, we've seen Nordstrom's close 16 stores nationwide that will not be coming back. JCPenney's is reporting to be filing for bankruptcy any day now. And we saw just another one the other day. I have this feeling we're going to see quite a bit more in Amazon. But I mean, you got to think about it. We look at those numbers when you think of retail. And I was shocked last week when Costco reported their quarterlies and said that their numbers were down. And I'm going, Costco? That's where everybody went to get toilet paper. So even their sales are down. So even when it looked like there was a lot of people, I think I don't know how this is going to play out. I have a feeling with brick and mortar as we know it, we're going to have a lot of open retail spaces out there right now.
Yeah, and it's going to change the whole game. I've actually been interested in this kind of stuff for a while, just because it's going to change the whole game with, WeWork and what is going to fill those buildings instead. Like there's going to have to be something to put in them, right? Like it's going to be office space. Like what is it going to be? And we've been looking at this like digital virtual stuff for a long time. So, buying online has, we've kind of seen this coming. But yeah, it'll be interesting for sure.
Yeah, that's the crazy part about all of this is everybody the new normal, right? What is the new normal? I mean, just going in, if you think about where we were when we started this 782 days ago, just kidding, 8.5 weeks ago, it seems like it. Yeah. I mean, we started a show and we've made it through 30 days of it, and we started after the virus started. We started like April 15th, so it's crazy that even like just time fly by. But if you think about it, going into Walgreens and other places, how when you first walked in, there wasn't any regulations, and now it's, there's bank teller glass everywhere. There's no contact. You're
getting your temperature checked. Like every time I go into work, because I still produce a national show that I have to go into work for, there are, people they're in like the smock things, like what I'm talking about. They have like the full body on, they have the shield, they have a mask on, they have goggles on. I'm like, wait, what, really? But okay, cool. And they do temperature checks. Every single person that goes in, they see me every single morning. I'm like, I work here, guys. I'm still clean, but they're doing temperature checks. It's just a totally different experience. Even in my apartment building here, there's a huge plate of glass in front of the front desk where, I'm like best friends with all my front desk people. And there's I'm just like, this is so weird. It's crazy.
Yeah. It's a whole different world. I think people need to get used to. And, and I don't think people pay attention. I mean, you're right. You just mentioned that you produce a national show, which is amazing. But I mean, you guys are just like so many other people in New York, especially where all the big bureaus are. The show still must go on. I mean, all of the networks are still producing. I know, unfortunately, Chris Cuomo's kind of been trapped in his home from him getting coronavirus and his wife getting coronavirus. But I mean, a lot of these shows are still producing. So people don't think of that. And I always say you have to think of all these the way the ball bounces. Your media wouldn't be on if it wasn't for everybody still doing their shows every day. And there has to be these checks that go on. So it's just, I think people are going to get used to it as we go back. Normal won't be normal. I know we all can't wait to run out and go sit in a store or a restaurant for sure. I know me, I can't wait to do that. I don't know about going back and shopping. I mean, it's not like going to retail is anything new to me. We can go to Costco. We were able to do that for the past, 8.5 weeks. It's nothing new to us. But I mean, for the most part, we've always been able to go wherever we want to go and do what we want to. It's just restaurants we truly miss, going to some bars, just being able to go out and not be
stuff. Exactly. And I think a lot of people they kind of want that convenience anyway. You know what I mean? Like I heard a story about this guy was trying to pick up some paint from Lowe's or whatever. And he just like pulled up, they dropped it in his trunk and they were like, okay, have a good one. They just took his credit card and swiped it and it was good. And I was like, that is convenience. I think people can get used to that. You know what I mean? Like that doesn't sound too bad, honestly. But it's a changing world. And like, I think we just have to kind of adapt to it,
Yeah, I agree. I think one of the biggest things that we're going to see, and we're going to talk about this with our first guest, is talking about ways some of these small businesses come bounce back. I know that they're going to struggle because we saw it even when we were getting these small business loans. The big guys were jumping in line and bullying these businesses out of the way. And these poor small gyms that truly more people like to go to. I know if I go to a gym, now I've bragged on my show, and I'm not a paid sponsor yet, of Peloton. I love Peloton, love Peloton. It is, to me, it's perfect for me and my time schedule. But when I do have time to go to a gym, I like a smaller atmosphere. I don't like the big gyms because I just don't like them. It's like,
intimidating too. Like I don't like big gyms. I prefer the classes because like they're quick, easy, high energy, and I get out of there, and I get all the parts that I need to get done. I get it done, right? Yeah. But big gyms, like you go in, I'm like, I don't even know what to do on these machines. Like, what am I supposed to do here? And then it's just like, oh, you're using that machine. Oh, okay, I guess I'll go run on the treadmill for like a little bit. You know what I mean? It's like I don't know what to do. It's weird.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting when they open. I mean, that's my concern is. I'm watching estates open, but hair salons, nails, barber, I need to go see mine. But, it's one of those things they haven't opened yet. And it's concerning because those are small businesses. The big businesses aren't having any problems. I mean, most of them who still took money, they got caught. They had to give it back, but nobody really got that money. So I think my curiosity is this, is when we come back, will people really remember those businesses that basically during our darkest hour were the first in line to knock the little guy out of the way, showing that we really haven't grown up at all in our country, that we're still divided by the ye with the most money at the end of the day, or the ye with the most toys at the end wins. You know, they're getting ahead of the line, they're beating the system, and they're beating the little guy up. And I don't like that. I don't know if it's because I have that chip from being from the military and being from the smallest branch that gets everybody secondhand scraps and we're still the best. But I don't know if that's where it comes from. But it's really to me, it's been the number one thing that's got my blood boiling, other than the media a little bit. But it's this whole behavior towards knocking the little guy out of the picture so they could just have a land grab. And I don't like it, because I'm going to stand here with my flag in the way and be like, nope, you're not going around. Nope, I'm going to support small businesses. I'd much rather do that than give, I'll call them out, Ruth Chris, a penny of my money ever again. And I like their steak, but
absolutely. I'm right there with you. My dad has a small business, so I've always been a huge small business supporter. And quite honestly, the quality is usually a lot better. And that's what makes up America, is those small businesses, the mom and pop shops. And like, those are the ones I respect. Those are the ones that I've always cared about. And you're right. I think they are, just better in general. And I don't think a lot of people actually realize the places that we're bullying the little guys, just because they might not be hearing about it. Like, I haven't been hearing about that a whole lot. But it just sort of depends. I think once things start to go back to our version of normal, people are just going to be so excited to go out. They're not going to care. They're just going to be like, I want my Starbucks again. I want, you know what I mean? They just want their normal back. So I think
part of me likes that, part of me doesn't, because I really prefer the small business guy. Yeah. So, we're at our point now where I think we've talked a lot about small business, and I really want to bring in the firepower to talk about it. So I think, what do you think? Is it time for us to get to the point?
It's time for us to get to the point. Let's do this.
Get to the point. Now, for sure, if you watch the news, you have seen our first guest. He's been all over the news this week, and he's been visiting our friends over at Fox quite often. He's written an amazing book. Hopefully you can see it, called Man Up. Absolutely love this. You got to love any book that says, it's called Man Up, and it says how to cut the beep and kick ass. I can say ass, right? Ass is legal. I mean, I can say whatever I want. It's social media. I don't know why I didn't say bullshit, but I did. Oh, I did. It says how you can cut the bullshit and kick ass in business and in life. So I'd like to welcome our first amazing guest to get to the point, Bedros Keuilian. Bedros, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you so much, guys. Appreciate you letting me have some opportunity here. Thank you.
You are inspiring, my friend. Hearing you on TV, sticking up for the little guy. I don't know if it's because you're barrel-chested, and it just makes me feel like I want you to stand next to me and fight for small businesses with me. Basically, I could be like the donkey, and you could be Shrek, and I could just bounce behind you and say things. If that works for you, we could do that. I'll volunteer. I'll be the donkey.
Well, as I look at you here, Eric, if you've ever seen the movie Twins with Danny DeVito and Arnold, I would say that you would be Arnold and I would be Danny DeVito in our relationship.
I don't think so. You look like you lift way more than I do. I ride a Peloton. That's about and I do push-ups every day. I do the Marine Corps Daily 7. I am that guy still in his 40s who's like, I know how to do this. I can't go lift. We actually, funny story, Bedros, you'll love this. We ordered a weight set to come to our house because we own businesses. We can't always leave to go to a gym. So having everything readily to do, and I don't believe in excuses who can't drive to the gym. Even when we had a gym membership, we wanted this, but we ordered it. And of course, coronavirus hit and they sent us this message. We can't deliver it till June. I'm like, it's April. It's a long time. So back to the push-ups and body weight stuff. So yeah, I mean, it's good, but let's get to the point here when it comes to what you've been talking about. You are a big advocate for small businesses. Obviously, Fit Body Bootcamp is a franchise owned, so you have a bunch of owners that are part of your business. And tell the folks a little bit about what you did right as coronavirus hit, because I think this is amazing how quick you made a pivot.
Absolutely, and look, I should tell you this, that when you look at any franchise business owner, they are a small business. Collectively, they look like a big business, but when you look at, for example, a Fit Body Boot Camp where we have individually owned locations, 700 of them across the world, or let's say a fast food sandwich shop like Jersey Mike's that might have, it looks like a big brand, but they're actually individually owned and operated. Those are small businesses, and those people have payroll, they have expenses, etc. And so what we did, since obviously many of our clients work out in our facilities, in our gyms are about 3,000 square feet. They're classes, we call them sessions, and they're run by a coach, and we call it the 4-station rotation. In 30 minutes, you go through 4 stations. It's, run by a coach who kind of modifies the exercises depending on where your aches and pains are and the results that you want. And a group of 20 clients work out at a time and move on, and then the next group comes in after that. Well, once the coronavirus was announced and the lockdown was announced, the quarantine, within 48 hours on March 17th, we gave the order to our Fit Body Bootcamp owners. We said, guys, you guys have a social obligation. We have a social obligation to make sure our clients and our communities are safe. We don't know what this virus is all about. We're hearing that it's very dangerous. We are in an environment where clients are touching different equipment. So we're going to shut down, and in 48 hours, we're going to launch our at-home workouts. And so within 48 hours, we filmed 30 follow-along workouts that our clients could do in Facebook private groups. So every location, we had them launch a private Facebook group where they did the follow-along workouts, checked in on their clients on a daily basis several times, and we used basically platforms like Zoom, Facebook, and good old texting and calling to stay in contact with our clients, because we knew our clients still wanted to get the results, and if they got the results that they were after, they would continue to pay for those results, which means that our business owners could keep their coaches, their front desk staff, their facility leaders pay on payroll, which is what we're after. And so that's what we did. But obviously, you can only do that for so long before you realize we've got to go back to business.
I love this. I think this is great. And I'm so glad you were able to transition so quickly, especially with everything going on. And I'm a big fitness person. I love working out, and I, easily transitioned to a lot of at-home workouts. There were a bunch of, classes that I was able to take. I know Eric is obsessed with his Peloton. But has there been any challenges with switching your business over to everything online? Like, how were your clients, and was that an easy transition for them as well?
No, it certainly wasn't easy on any level, to be honest with you, because as you can imagine, and I'm one of those people, some of us are technophobes, and it takes a little time to go from learning how to coach people inside of your gym to coaching them online and setting up Zoom and doing a live workout, and then moving that live workout onto Vimeo, and then putting the link to Vimeo on the Facebook group, and then doing 2 or 3 live sessions like this in Facebook, because our coaches and our owners are used to engaging with their clients in person. So we had about 25-30% of our owners kind of freaking out, rightfully so, and we walked them through it. That's what a franchise does. We have a support structure that walks them through it and helps them out. And then, of course, we had about 20% of our clients say, look, this isn't for me. I don't want to work out from home. I think I'm going to wait out the 2 weeks that they say, because remember, in the beginning, the whole country was under the impression that by mid-April, right around Easter, we're going to go back to business. And so we had about 20% of our clients across the board put their memberships on a freeze, thinking in 2 weeks we'll go back. Well, very quickly, some of those people realized, hey, this is going to go longer than we thought. And so some of them re-signed back up. Others of them didn't, but there was certainly a financial loss. Now, we made up for that by launching a 28-day Stronger Together at-home challenge, where we sold it online to people in the communities who had never worked out with us. But let me tell you, it's hard to sell something when people are afraid of losing their jobs and really want things to go back to normal so they can go back into a gym and work out there.
So, Bedros, let me ask you this. One of the things that I know that you've been real big on is standing up for small businesses that are out there. So do you have a message for any of these big gyms and other big businesses that kind of haven't acted on their best behavior and acted very businesslike and played fair in the pool over these last 8 weeks?
No, absolutely not, man. And I'm glad you brought that up, Eric, because when you look at places like Shake Shack and Penske and Harvard and Ruth's Chris, come on, these are giant chains. They're not franchises. Let me explain, in case someone watching this doesn't know the difference. Starbucks, for example, is a chain, meaning all Starbucks locations are owned by one corporation, whereas most McDonald's, they're franchise. Person might own one or two locations. The next guy might own one or two. And Fit Body Bootcamp is a franchise. It's owned by individuals collectively making up one unified brand. And so when you see Penske, Harvard, Ruth's Chris, Shake Shack getting in line and bumping the little business owner who doesn't have the big accounting team, who doesn't have the ability to take time and go online and fill out the forms. Because look, we had to fill out our forms 3 times only to get funded the second time around because we missed a window here at corporate office. And I've got 3 accountants working behind me in the accounting department. I could only imagine a small business owner trying to run their business and figure out how to go online and figure out how to fill out these forms when these big businesses are just cutting in front of them and taking the money that wasn't really allocated for them. It simply wasn't, period. And it's just a shame for that to happen. And so I decided I'm going to stand up for small business owners, not just small gyms, because look, there's also a difference between a big box gym where people walk around, a 30,000 square foot gym that you walk in and you do bench press, dumbbell flies, cable machine, whatever. You're touching everything. Now I've decided that we're going to actually pivot with Fit Body Bootcamp. I told all Fit Body owners that we are going to open up on June 1st. Some states, 7 states have already opened up, given the green light. So we've opened up as much early as 2 weeks ago. But I said on June 1st, guys, we're opening up. We're using our Fit Body reopening protocol, which is to sanitize hands and shoes before they come in. Our clients are now working out in an 8x8 taped off area. And there's 12 of them, 10, 12, 15, depending on the size of the Fit Body Bootcamp. But we call it the train in place model, where earlier I told you our clients rotate throughout a 30-minute session. Now they will train in place in their 8x8 taped off area with the 2 pieces of equipment that's right there in front of them. So there's no cross contamination. There's no high-fiving. There's none of that. Our coaches and instructors have masks on because there are going to be yelling and coaching and obviously pumping people up. There's literally almost no chance of anyone spreading a virus in an environment like that. And I've gone so far as to send that 25-page reopening protocol to the White House, to the Center for Disease Control COVID-19 Task Force, to the World Health Organization, and to Governor Newsom's office, just like, hey, here's what we're doing. We're going above and beyond. You must differentiate us from big box gyms. And oh, by the way, these are small business owners who now I feel at this point our constitutional rights are being infringed upon. And keep in mind, Eric, I come from a communist country. My dad risked his life to bring us here when I was 6 years old when we escaped the Soviet Union. I'm seeing communist behavior, and I'm willing to put my name, my business, myself on the line at this point.
I love that you bring that up because you are, to me, what is a perfect American dream, if you think of it. You came over from a communist country to our country, the home of the free, land of the brave. I'm proud to have served it, as is producer Chris. And to hear someone who came to our country, has been successful, earned his keep here in our country, and to see that your businesses are being treated the way they are by Governor Newsom, and in fact, by our entire government when this started, taking away our freedoms that we're guaranteed, that sit in the National Archives, that we can't touch with our hands or even breathe near. And it's been taken away. I reported at the beginning of the show, Joe Rogan has now said that he's planning on leaving the state. He's done. And that's just because he wants to be able to film his podcast and work out with his friends. I mean, you describing your workout, I'm going, well, for me, I thrive on those high fives. I mean, I love a good CrossFit gym. I'm not going to lie. It's fun to have those high fives get you through a workout. When your butt is just floored at a group workout, it's good to have those folks on your left and to your right helping you up, and the coaches too. So I'm sure your teams are going to have a struggle with the, like, what are we going to do? The Jim and Pam virtual high five like we're in the office? I mean, it's absurd to do that. And I don't think they've thought it through. But let's deep dive into California, because Governor Newsom just extended you guys. For no reason extended you guys. You guys don't have a high death count. You're not even looking anything like New York, nor have you ever. But yet he keeps extending and extending it. And I don't know at what point it becomes a political thing, because I know it's in an election year. But I mean, this is killing small businesses. Now, let me ask you, did you hear a response from the governor?
I did not hear a response from the governor. And just yesterday, I don't know if you guys saw this, but the mayor of LA said that he is open to the idea of cutting off utilities for small businesses who decide to go back to business before they give the green light. Now, listen, man, you can't cut gas, water, and power to a small business that wants to go serve its people constitutionally, number one. Number two, in a way that's socially safe because they've taken every precaution, just like we are at Fit Body Bootcamp. And number three, Eric, let me bring something up for a second. I don't know if I think you said you're a parent, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
All right. So you know, I've got a son and a daughter, but let's say I had 6 kids, and let's say me and my wife went out to the park, and my 6 kids are playing, and Andrew is my oldest. I might say, hey, kids, have a good time, but Andrew's in charge, so listen to your big brother. And there you go. The 6 kids are doing that because it's a safe environment. It's a park. I can kind of see them from afar. They're good. That is good parenting on my part. Now, if I all of a sudden hear someone clacking off a gun in the park, and I hear what sounds like a gun, and I don't see the gunman, I'm now going to take control away from Andrew, my son, and I'm going to say, kids, come over here, honey, get up, we're leaving. I'm going to take leadership when there's a real risk, a real problem. Now, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm not Republican. I'm not Democrat. I'm a free market capitalist that believes in our constitutional way, so much so that I was excited to come to the United States, learn the language, understand the culture, and serve the people. And what I'm seeing is, if this was a real problem, why would our president then delegate it to the governors, to 50 governors who can run the problem 50 different ways? Why would we be allowed to go into grocery stores? Hey, wear a mask, but don't touch. You know, you can touch the apple, you can touch the soda can, put it back, totally fine. Are we spreading things? So maybe it's not that big a risk after all. Because if it really was, then shouldn't we be more worried and taking bigger precautions? And since we're not, why don't we sensibly go back to work, and the people who are immune compromised and the elderly shelter in place, let the rest of us go contribute to the economy, because we also know this fact, that for every 1% increase in unemployment, there's 29,000 deaths over a 6 to 8 month period. Majority of those deaths from heart attacks. The second source is suicide. The third being murder. How does that compare against COVID virus death?
Exactly. Oh my God. By the way, just so you know, you had everybody on the team in the control room. You couldn't see it, but we all had our arms up. We were feeling you when you said, I'm not left, I'm not right. I'm just here to provide for businesses. That is the greatest thing. I wish that you were born here so I could say, dude, you need to run for president because you have my vote. We need more folks like you. We need more voices. You obviously are an influencer in the business world. You have an amazing book that I personally think that you need to send to the White House. You should actually send your requirements and send these to all of them. This should all go to DC and they all should get this book. Gavin Newsom should own it. Man up, because they're not doing that. And man up could be for man, woman. It doesn't matter what gender you are. It is a mindset. It's like the Marine mindset. Adapt and overcome. We're sitting on our butt in small business owners. And for you, I did read that story yesterday about shutting off the power. And I was like, where do I live again? Because I'm pretty for sure I see an American flag where I go, and I know a lot about our history. And this is a very weird time that we live in. And for so many people to be fleeing California already, I think they're going to have even more people leave, because this is horrible for small business owners. So what do you suggest what can we do? What can a small business owner do right now to stay the course and keep their head above water? Because it is a bad time for a lot of them, because even opening right now with all these regulations, they have another problem. Their employees, technically, especially in restaurants, make more in unemployment than they do going to work. And they're like, I could just sit here on this for months until it's safe to go back to work. Why would I even worry about it? I'm making, some people make $600 a week. Not that that's a lot of money, but if you're single in your 20s, don't have a lot of responsibilities, not knocking any millennials, but just, if you happen to be there and you could do that, no kids, why would you go back to work? So, what do you say to that?
Well, that's an absolutely great point. And that's also part of the problem. Look, we're applying for PPP, and all these small businesses are applying for all this financial health. But, any small business owner, any business owner, big or small right now, would agree with me. I don't go into business to break even, to just stay afloat. I go into business to make a profit. And what you don't see is right behind the camera here, there's a bookshelf, and I could see 5 different plaques and trophies that I got from Shriners Children's Hospital for the 7 figures that we have donated to Shriners Children's Hospital over the years. As a child coming to the United States, I went through a lot of problems, and so I'm very child conscious. So I make profits, 1, to take care of my family and give them a good quality of life, and 2, to donate to Shriners Children's Hospital and to have 91 kids adopted through Compassion International. I make profits so that I could do things that give me a sense of significance. And when they're saying, look, we're going to give you enough money to pay your payroll and maybe pay your rent for your building, I'm not looking to stay afloat. If I was, I would just go get a job somewhere. I'm looking to make a profit and contribute to the world's economy. And if they think that they can just cut us a check to just enough to keep us afloat, and I should be happy with that, I'm not. And the reality is that you're right. When you incentivize people, employees, to effectively go on unemployment, and their unemployment matches what their payroll was anyway, and now it's been extended, this is why the country gets divided. They're saying, hey, look, I'm not saying they're saying it for the money, but maybe I would be if I was getting the same amount of money as I was getting when I was working, and now the time period is extended where I can get it longer. I might say, hey, you know what? You're a small business owner. All business, stay shut, keep us safe, because I'll just keep playing my video games, making almost the same amount of money. What about the rest of us who actually need to make money and be profitable? And we're willing to do it in a safe way. And we've got a 25-page process outlined. Let us go back to business. And if we spike the doggone virus, hey, we'll go right back to quarantine. And if we don't, then maybe this wasn't the big deal that everyone made it out to be.
Absolutely. I so respect you. Like, I love your whole story, and I think everything that you're doing is absolutely amazing. I want to know more about your book, Man Up. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? And
Sure. My book, Man Up, is actually written because I was a very poor and ineffective leader when I launched Fit Body Bootcamp, our franchise. I launched it in the last economic depression, 2008, when the economy crashed. I realized, I've got to launch this bootcamp, Fit Body Bootcamp, our business, because one-on-one personal training was too expensive for people. And by 2010, I had launched it. By 2012, we became a franchise. By 2013, I was having anxiety attacks so big that it felt like a heart attack. I was in an argument with my wife. I had refinanced my house so many times because the brand just wouldn't take off. I hated my employees. I hated my business partner. I hated my franchisees, to be very honest with you. And one day I realized, if I'm hating all these people, maybe they're not the problem. Maybe I am. And I took a close look at myself, and I realized I'm not having the conversations that I should. I'm not being decisive. I'm not leading from the front. I'm being an imposter of a leader. I'm being passive aggressive. And so I decided to fully commit for the next few years, as long as it took. And over the next 2 years, from 2013 to 2015, I probably spent more time with a therapist on working on my personal, like, just self-discipline. And listen, if you want the truth, I was molested as a little kid growing up in Armenia, and I had a lot of rage and anger and communication problems. And I openly share this anyway from the stage when I speak, etc. But all those things, as humans, we go through trauma, and we're scarred, and we don't communicate well. We're indecisive. We're passive aggressive. And all those things do not make for a great leader in business. And so I decided to focus on my leadership, build my leadership muscles, get over the trauma that I had experienced as a kid, and really self-develop and learn to communicate, become decisive, be emotionally resilient and not freak out. And of course, turn my employees into a high-performing team. And in my book, I identify employees as people who clock in a little late, clock out a little early, and do the bare minimum to maintain employment. A team is someone who understands the mission and the core values of that business and plays as a unified front to win. And so I always tell people, with that definition, would you want employees or team members? And so with that said, I spent the next 2 years developing my leadership muscles, if you will. And it's no coincidence that 2015, 16, 17, 18, 19, we hit the Inc. 5000 list, fastest growing franchises. We hit the Entrepreneur Magazine's 500 fastest growing franchises. And great example of leadership being the problem, leadership being the solution. And so the reason I titled it Man Up is every time I was afraid to have a conversation with someone and I would start feeling anxiety, in my head I would say, Bedros, man up and have that conversation. Man up and do that thing that you need to do and stop hiding from it. And so Man Up is really just human up to your highest level of potential. And whether you're man or woman, there's a higher level of potential and purpose that you know you have. You feel that gnawing in your gut. And when you do nothing about it, you feel anxious, you feel stressed, you feel overwhelmed, you begin to suffer in silence. And that's what I was doing. And I wrote Man Up to give people the 6 pillars of entrepreneurial leadership so they don't have to experience what I did.
I love that. I think that's incredible. I think you have the right mindset completely. And I completely agree with you on the employees versus team members. Like, that's brilliant. But I think we have to wrap it up. So thank you so much for coming on to The Point.
Thank you. Appreciate
You have been
it.
incredible. I really appreciate your story.
Thank you.
Welcome back to The Point. I think we have our next guest, Ben Biddick.
Hi, how you doing, Pavlina? It's great to talk with you today.
Hi, did I pronounce your last name properly?
Yep, that's right, Ben Biddick.
Okay, perfect. With Get Up Nation, thank you so much for joining us today. Tell me about, I know you have a book. Your book is called, it is Get Up, The Art of Perseverance. And
That's right. Yep.
I love that. I know it's a baseball story, but I think we can kind of apply it to tonight, or, just what's going on today, just everything. I love that. Yes, I looked it up before we got on. I think we can actually apply a lot of that to everything that we're going through with coronavirus right now. What would you say on, if you can, like, relate your book to everything that's going on right now with Corona?
Right, absolutely. So Adam Greenberg was a phenomenal young athlete, did amazing things as he was growing up, had a work ethic that was just out of this world. And his love of his life was baseball. And so as he came up through the ranks, went to University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, ascended through all the minor league teams, went after it with everything that he was. And he actually got called up to the Chicago Cubs for his first plate appearance in Major League Baseball. Dusty Baker was the manager at the time. He said, Adam, I want you to go in and pinch hit. Gave him his first opportunity. And so this magical moment, he'd worked his entire life for it, right? Like many people in America, when COVID-19 hit, you may have busted your tail your whole life to get to the point where your business was successful or profitable, where you and yours were thriving. Adam has worked that hard to get to the pinnacle of his career. He goes up, steps into the batter's box, for his first plate appearance in the major leagues. You got to imagine, there's only 18,000 people who have ever been, who could ever claim to be a Major League Baseball player. And he was one of them. And he got in there, he began to get into place, and he waited that first pitch. First pitch came, and it didn't break, it didn't curve, it came straight for him. And he actually had to turn away, was struck under the helmet directly on his head, the back of his head, by a 92-mile-an-hour fastball. Now, keep in mind, COVID came at us like a fastball as well. First, some reports out of China, some questions. All of a sudden, Major League Baseball and these huge organizations were shutting down, and we're in a new normal all of a sudden, right? And Adam was suddenly in a new normal when that 92-mile-an-hour fastball struck his head. Obviously caused an immense amount of trauma. If you can imagine the momentum that goes through a human head after being struck with a 92-mile-an-hour fastball. I mean, people could die of that trauma very easily. However, he went down on the ground. He was saying inside of his head, he said, stay alive, stay alive, stay alive. And he held his head. He felt like he was holding his head together. He actually had some perception that somehow his head had actually come apart, and he felt like he was holding his head together. That was just part of the brain impact. He actually, that had not happened, but that's what he felt was happening. So obviously very traumatic. Here's an image right after it happened of him holding his head. And he was such a warrior that once he understood that he hadn't died, and that other players were coming out there and not actually putting towels on him to try to stop bleeding or anything like that, he started to come to. And this is before concussion protocols in Major League Baseball. So it was largely just a trainer comes out and asks him a few questions like, where were you yesterday? And Adam is such a warrior that his response was, yesterday I was in the major leagues, or yesterday I was in the minor leagues, and I'm not going back. So everyone kind of thought, well, he's good. And they kind of walked him off the field, didn't even send him to the hospital. But what we all know happened in that moment when that ball hit him was it adjusted his vision. His vision had been altered. Those tiny bones inside, if anybody's familiar with the anatomical system within the ear, those tiny bones, with an impact like that, altered that system. So he would have blackouts. He would not have balance. He would be unbalanced. He would, deal with dizziness and all sorts of trauma that he had to deal with for 7 years of battling in the minor leagues. He tried to get back to the major leagues. And then one of the most unique stories of Major League Baseball, he was asked on the Today Show by David Sampson, the owner of the Marlins at the time, or the general manager of the Marlins at the time, to come back and have a major league at bat because he had never been able to step on a first base. He had never had an actual at bat. And so there was a huge outcrying of support for him, people signing a petition with Matt Liston to try to get him an at bat, because people who love baseball don't want that story to happen without a happy ending. Baseball is such a special sport in American history that there had to be a better ending than just somebody being obliterated. And this is what I talk about. We were talking here with amazing Bedros Keuilian, who is sharing his amazing story of resilience and how he looked within him. And when these challenges came, he pivoted his whole organization. He accepted what was happening. And even in a time of uncertainty, he pivoted to make it so that his business would thrive. And calling out the realities of people who would abuse others during this time where leaders seem to have an agenda potentially. Maybe they're saying things that don't really make sense, maybe contradict other people. But people in a adverse time can either rise up and show immense character, or their character can get exposed as something a little less than in having integrity or character. So Adam then realizes, after this amazing story, like some of us are realizing now as we start to pivot and look at the good within this challenge of COVID-19, he realized that he may, if he wasn't hit by that pitch, he may have gone on to an all-star baseball career. He may have, broken records. He may have done amazing things to get into the Hall of Fame. Or what could have happened is he got hit by that pitch and then spent the following years talking with people who had traumatic brain injury, talking with young athletes about the challenges they experienced when they had a head injury or a physical injury that caused them not to play their sport anymore. And talking, for instance, a young boy who was having suicidal thoughts because after traumatic brain injury, he was having all of these symptoms that he thought would be there forever. He didn't understand as a child that this would ease in time. And so the boy's father reached out to Adam Greenberg to say, could I get a signed baseball card just to be a memento or an inspiring piece of a gift to help my son realize that it will not be like this forever, that he will heal from this, that his life is still worth living. And Adam said, well, I'll do more than give you a baseball card that's signed. I'll go there and meet with him. He played catch with him. He became a lifelong friend to him. And so if Adam says, well, my baseball career was an all-star, or I could get drilled on the first pitch like that and then save people's lives, change people's lives who have been hampered by adversity, who have been injured in severe ways, and give them another chance at life, and guess what he's going to pick, because he's a man of character. So that's what I love about operating in this space. That's what Get Up Nation is about. When we get drilled by this adversity, what is it within us that we need to access to get back up? What is it that Bedros did to get back up? He leaned on his history of adversity. He refused to give in. He accepted the reality of what was happening, and then he went after it hard. And that is leadership. That is inspiring. That is why we need men and women who are doing, like he says in his book, getting up to be the best that we are. This is America. Let's show the world what America is.
Absolutely. And like that's everything right there, because, I don't think people realize how strong they really are, especially when adversity comes. And I know I've been through a lot that people don't really know about. And I think that has made me way stronger. And that has given me so much more wisdom than anyone could ever imagine. Like I feel like the struggles that people go through, or the trauma, that they go through, that's when you build. that's when
right.
you get, you get to your strongest point. And I try to tell all of my friends that. I try to, advise my little sister about that, all that kind of stuff all the time.
Right.
Just because people don't realize how strong they really are. And it's truly amazing. So thank you for sharing that story. That was cool.
Oh, my honor to do that. Absolutely.
So Ben, you host, you mentioned it a couple times. You host an amazing podcast. I'm a regular listener to it. You already know that, but tell the folks about your podcast. You have amazing guests. Yes, you are a veteran, so I want to thank you for your service. I love having vets on the show, as you know, but you don't just have, a lot, and this isn't a knock. So just my good buddy, just everybody know when I talk about Vet Pivot, yes, that's very veteran centric. Ben's podcast is a little different. He puts on every walk of life, amazing. You've got WNBA stars on there, baseball players, amazing executives, dopey people who start TV shows on Facebook, and dopey people's wives who run their company. I don't know, but tell folks a little bit about your podcast.
Sure. Yeah. The Get Up Nation podcast is what it is. It's a global group of positive people who are coming together to build resilience within one another so that we can create positive legacies of profound positive impact. Okay. So like, I loved what Pavlina was talking about earlier here about, we often miss the boat when it comes to adversity. We're often fed this line that unless we look like George Clooney, unless we're as rich as whoever the richest person is that unless we have six-pack abs, unless we have, all of these things, that we're not successful. But that's not true. The reality of it is, whether we like to admit it or not, is our time on this earth is limited, right? It's there's no guarantee that we will live 100 years of perfect health. There is no guarantee that this could be our last day. We don't know. So the basic success story that I adhere to is, what relationships do you have with people? Because I've worked in a number of fields. I've worked as a nurse, I've worked as a medic, I've served in the military, I've worked as a cop, I've worked doing human trafficking investigations, I worked as a crisis and hostage negotiator, I've worked as a crisis worker dealing with people who are actively suicidal or homicidal and under the influence of substances. I've worked in all of these environments because this is where the powerful thing happens, of where people step in to help other people in an emergency, right? And we can talk about COVID-19. We can talk about all the noble people out there, the first responders who are going to work every day, who are kissing their children's forehead on their way out the door and praying they don't get it, and praying that they get through or have enough equipment to get through and to serve the people that they're facing, who are facing an unprecedented challenge, right? So if we can fully recognize that when adversity strikes, it can create the result that Bedros Keuilian just provided to us, right? It can provide that, where the finest parts of us come alive to help other human beings. And at the end of the day, this will be a memory of, that was a time of great unity, of great cohesion, of great sacrifice, of great humility. And that opens up the human mind and the human experience into a place where we feel fulfillment, where we feel meaning. We talk about Sebastian Junger talks about in his book Tribe about how during World War II, when the Germans were bombing England over and over and over every day, they were concerned initially that the populace was going to give up or to freak out or go into mental illness severely and just be in absolute chaos. But the opposite thing happened. The populace, even getting bombed every day, boom, 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 all day, every day, they banded together. Even people who were experiencing mental illness and frequently dealt with suicidality in their daily life stopped or had lessened symptoms of that because they were banding together. They were helping. There was a bigger cause, a bigger purpose that they felt meaning in participating in, and it was about making people's lives better. So if people truly want to be successful, that's why I love your show, Eric, because you bring on some of the finest people who are sharing some of their finest insights into how to truly be successful. And then you just mob us with these amazing people. You got like 4 guests, per show and all this. You are bringing people together, having a moment where we meet new people, learn something about each other or learn something about the world, call out the stuff that we dislike, learn about what is exactly happening, how we can face it, how we can be resilient to overcome it, and then we can just crush it and be proud of what we experienced. We have unity, we have cohesion, we have those positive experiences that when our day comes and we do lay down at the end of our life and we look back, we don't think about how many cars we had. We don't think about, all those things necessarily, but we think of like what Bedros was saying. I gave $1 million to this child, this pediatric, cancer fund, whatever that project was, where those children's suffering was stopped for a little while. Their pain ended for a little while, and we were able to do that, and that is a great honor. So he transformed his childhood trauma, that the molestation and those types of things, into a gift that says, I'm going to take that adversity and transform it into something where I ease suffering, where people who felt those same feelings for me, or felt that isolation or that physical pain or that emotional pain, and now I'm comforting them. That is a powerful force to be reckoned with. I believe that is what America is. And I believe that is who I want to unite in this movement toward getting us over and through COVID-19 and every other challenge we have to face. Name it, let's do it. There's nothing that can stop us.
I love it. I'm going to put you as Bedros' vice president. You are officially his vice president. And smile, because you're all on Boomerang. But
good deal.
See, that's what we have to do. Come on, we got to use social, baby. Ben, I want to thank you for coming on. Your podcast, like I said, is great. The book is outstanding. If folks want to learn more about your podcast, they can go to getupnationpodcast.com. Go check out where all podcasts are at, and don't miss it. They have a great. And so, if somebody wants to be a guest, how should they reach out to you? I'm getting a couple questions about, I'd like to be a guest on the show. I think I fit. And I'm like, I'm not pitching you to him. So he'll tell you how to do it.
All right. Yeah. You could go to getupnationpodcast.com. You could go on there, or you could send an email to getupnationpodcast@gmail.com. Give us a little time to wade through. We just have to set it up, listen to the story, and I would love to share your journey on the show. It's just going to take a little time. Please be patient with me. We do cover resilience in all its forms. So whether it's businesses that need to get over challenges, whether it's people dealing with cancer, whether it's athletics or eating disorders, military sexual trauma, PTSD. It's raw and real. We're not just blowing sunshine up toward people here. We are going into the nitty gritty of things. We have Diego Ugalde of the Trident Approach, who is a former Navy SEAL. He comes on and talks leadership about helping CEOs get their businesses through hard times. We have Eric Hadley, Navy veteran of Got Your Six Coffee, who does amazing work for first responders. And this network, and I am so privileged to have Eric on the show and his amazing wife, Lucy. And the amazing things that Eric and his family are doing on the show. So check out those episodes. Would love to hear more. It's been an honor to be here with all of you and to share this moment with you.
Well, we thank you for being on. I know Pavlina was like, wow, we have these guests today. I'd never heard. That's what I love about the show. You kind of hit that out of the ballpark. That's why we put on so many new faces. So Ben, we both want to thank you for coming on today, and we'll have you on real soon.
Excellent. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Have a blessed day.
You too. That's my favorite promo we do in the entire show.
I was going to say, I was enjoying that. Like, that was cute. I had something similar on one of my, on my old YouTube videos. I'll have to show it to you. You're going to be like, oh my gosh. I'm like, I know, right?
I love that. That's always fun. Another great week, another great Friday with you. I love Fridays. We have these intriguing guests. Bedros Keuilian, if you're out there looking for his book, once again, everybody, it's called Man Up. You can find it on Amazon or wherever you get books. I understand Barnes & Noble still sells books. I haven't got a book there in forever, but I understand they're still open. But Amazon
Probably on Amazon, yep.
Always on Amazon. Find it. And if Fit Body Bootcamp is what Bedros was looking for. So if you're looking to get a hold of him, go find him there. And Bedros Keuilian is on all of his socials. So you can go find him or Fit Body Bootcamp, or just head over to our Instagram. That reminds me, if you've been watching today, we'd appreciate if you smash that subscribe button, hit the like, tell all your friends, hit the bell so you know when we're on, and you never want to miss a Friday show. And then when you're done with that, I want you to go over to Pavlina's social and follow her all over social so you know when she's on our show every Friday here, 2 p.m. Eastern. So Pavlina, I want to thank you for joining us again.
Thank you so much. I love coming on, Eric. You guys are amazing.
Thank you. We love having you on, and we'll see you next Friday.
Yeah, see you next Friday.
Awesome. So, great week. And I want to thank all of you again tuning in every day. It's amazing that we put this together, and there's days that I lift my head off the pillow and go, why am I doing this? And it's because of you guys out there. I appreciate you greatly, and so does our team. We do this because we want to, and we absolutely love sharing the news, and we strive to bring you the biggest and best guests that we can. So on behalf of my entire team here at To The Point with Eric Mitchell, from me, from our co-host this week, Pavlina Osta, and the awesome Jordan Gelber, our executive producers, Madison Mitchell and Butch Seltzer, and the main man in the control booth, rocking all the buttons and doing everything, producer Chris, an Army vet, so give him a hoo-ha, because it's not an oorah, because they don't get that. Shout out to the team. We want to thank you for tuning in. Tune in next week. Monday, you don't want to miss it. Have some amazing guests for you. George Bryan is back to give you some more business tips, and we have a great lineup in store for you for the remainder of the week. Have yourself a great weekend. I'm Eric Mitchell. Be safe, be smart, be strong, and God bless America.